Doug again, more family history. This time we're spending time on the Bewley side. And I'm actually going to focus on two Bewleys, Christopher Bewley and then his father, John. Before I do that, I want to show where they fit into the tree, and also I want to talk about my mom's generation. My mom was born in 1939, Julia May Bewley. She's the second oldest child in her family. She had 9 brothers and sisters. Dorothy passed away as an infant. Her older sister Doris has passed away. A younger brother, Glenn, has passed away, but everyone else is still around. Uncle Donnie, Aunt Ann, Uncle Jerry, Aunt Janet, Aunt Peggy, and then Uncle Wilbur Carl Jr., named for his dad. So we're going to go back through the Bewley tree here. My great-granddad, Gabe, Grandma Rosie, 2-time great-grandparents, Bluford and Martha, 3-time great-grandparents, Joseph and Molly, Polly Dow. And I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. I'm going to be using Ancestry, but then another document I've discovered, and I'll share a little bit about that here in a second. Let's open Christopher's profile. Christopher really confused me for a while because his parents lived in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is right there by Philadelphia. And would be his great-grandparents were the first to come to the colonies and were there with William Penn in Philadelphia. So we jump ahead 100 years or so, and now we're at Revolutionary War time. And some other documents I had found, or places on Ancestry, they had Christopher being born in Virginia, in Bedford County. But I think I figured out what happened. He was actually born in Bucks County. The Revolution starts. He enlists in the Revolutionary Army, Revolutionary Continental Army. And then after the war, chances are he was given a land warrant, quite possibly in Virginia, Bedford County. So he settles there. It's not until 1817, he's 62 years old, that he shows up in Kentucky. And so that, for a long time, I couldn't figure out. It's like, well, how was he born in Bedford? I don't see anywhere where his parents were in Virginia. They were Bucks County, Pennsylvania the whole time. Just how did this work? And so let's learn a little more about Christopher. In some more research today, I found a document shared on Ancestry by a Jack Bewley, and he believes that Christopher's farm was located near the intersection of 920. These are, I'm not even sure they're state routes. They may just be county roads, 920 and 220. And if you're familiar with this part of the country, talking about the west side of Rineyville, okay, here's Blue Ball Baptist Church. People know where that is. New Salem Baptist Church is up here. And that's where Christopher's grandson, Bluford, is buried. Okay, so he's my 2-time great-grandfather, all right, is buried at the New Salem Church. So it's all in this area. And it is pretty close to Bewleyville. Bewleyville is actually up here somewhere. But that's the best information I have for where they settled, where the farm was. And here's that document I was just talking about, Jack Bewley put up. And it talks about a family Bible. This is something that I've never seen, but he cites the Shelby Jackson Bewley, Rineyville Road, The Bible came to his possession in 1990 from Shelley Sims, Big Spring. They bought it at an auction. Sounds kind of like that the William Bush Bible that we found recently. Here he talks about Christopher Bewley was apparently born in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, to John and Ann Kimble Bewley, who were married in 1739 in Philadelphia in Christ Church. So then it talks about 7 generations of males since that time have names of Christopher Kimble Bewley. Christopher was in the Revolutionary War and was enlisted near Fredericksburg, Virginia in 1777. He owned land in Bedford County, Virginia after 1780. Moved to Kentucky in 1817. So it talks about Mays Run near the intersection of highways 220 and 928. So I need to look more, see what I can find about Mays Run. Chances are it's a little creek. That farm is probably where his wife Nancy Patterson Bewley is buried. This time, 1990, the land belongs to a farmer, A.L. Buddy Rosenberger. Okay. Also talks about the churches they joined, all this stuff. He says that, to his knowledge, that Christopher is the only Revolutionary War soldier buried in the town that bears his name in Kentucky. That's kind of an interesting distinction. Here's something about his service. Served as a private in the Revolutionary War under Colonel Daniel Morgan, 11th Virginia Regiment, 4th Company. Once erroneously listed as a deserter, the muster rolls indicate he was sick or injured on 4 different rolls. Revolutionary War record on subscription. Service fold 3 indicates that he was left behind and his unit moved on without him. Copyist 20 years after the fact gave him the deserter tag in error without noticing that Christopher was still carried on the rolls as a casualty 2 months after the copyist indicated he deserted. And they, I think I showed this in an earlier video, but the DAR has put a marker on his grave in the Bewleyville, that little Bewleyville cemetery. It's along the side of the road. If you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't. It's a little grove of trees, and it's in there. Speaking of list from the Revolution, it may take me a minute to find this. It's been a while since I've looked at this document. But I believe he's listed on here. Yeah, I'm looking. Christopher Bewley, B-U-L-Y. And I'm not sure what all these other numbers indicate. Hard to make some of this stuff out. It looks like month, days, amount of pay, and casualties listed here. Let's see. Say anything next to Christopher. To find him again. No. So he's not listed as sick or a casualty at that point. Okay, let's go back. Here's a federal census in 1820. Ooh, extreme close-up. Christopher Bewley. And it's listing the people in his household, different ages. Oops, sorry. Okay, there we go. Marriage record. Now, he and Nancy were married in Virginia. I have to remember where this is. I looked at it earlier today. It's a different Bewley. And it could be I have this document in here by error. I think that's what's happened. I don't see Christopher. There's Patterson, but not the right Pat. I think, yeah, I think this has just been connected to him by mistake. So let's go back. What else do I have? Now, the Bewleys ended up in Philadelphia, chances are Quaker. And if you go back a couple of generations, there's connection with William Penn. And so I find Bewleys on Quaker church rolls quite often. Let's see here. It's the wrong part of the alphabet, Doug. We're in the H's. And it's going to take a while to get here. I'll be right back. Well, I never did find what I was looking for. So, my fourth great-grandfather, Christopher Bush. Let's go and let's talk about his dad, John. The other thing that I found was really interesting is that Christopher's siblings, I was just looking at this a while ago. One of them ends up in western Arkansas, almost all the way to Texas. Another one ends up just north of Springfield, Missouri. So they really kind of spread out. One of them ends up in Tennessee. They end up all over the place and pretty far west, given the time in history. So Christopher's father, John Bewley, married Anne Kimble, and they were married in Christ Church in Philadelphia. Christ Church is known as the nation's church. It's where several of the signers of the Declaration of Independence attended. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, just who's who, Benjamin Rush. And the minister at that church served as the chaplain for the Continental Congress. The church is right next to, or stands right next to, Independence Hall. It's still there today. And the people that built it also built Independence Hall. So a lot of the structure is similar between the two buildings. And in fact, Christ Church was built first. And I found a couple of YouTube videos that talk about the history of the church. And I believe, Judy was telling me this, that it was used in Nicolas Cage National Treasure. So I don't know. I haven't gone back to look at it yet. Once I find that, though, I'll put that clip on my YouTube channel. But that was pretty interesting stuff. They were married there in 1739. And here's a document about the church. Oh, actually, it's a link to the YouTube video about Christ. Oh, sorry. Operator error. Let's see what else I have about the church. This is an old drawing of the church. And it still is, people still worship there. And I watched one of the videos of the little baptistry bowl when you walk in the entrance of the church. It goes back to the inside of it, goes back to medieval times. They brought it over. William Penn was christened by that, and they brought it over from Europe and installed it in this church. And so they have it, you can't get around it. They kind of have a little rope guarding it. But that's pretty crazy. A church in the U.S. has something that goes back to the 1400s. So that's kind of a cool tidbit. A little bit of bio on John. Talks about the marriage. He's among early settlers in Buckingham. Let's see here. Matilda Kimble, when a widow inherited from her brother Thomas Morey. Okay, acres of land, then that was handed down. Daughters Anne Bewley and wife of John Bewley. And I saw that there was land that they owned and then they sold. They inherited it through the Kimbles. It goes back to Morey. There is a Humphrey Morey, all right? He was the first mayor of Philadelphia. He was appointed by William Penn. And if you go back through Anne's family line, Kimble's into the Moreys, we are related to Humphrey Morey. All right? And I'll talk about that some other time. This doesn't really have anything else. He was listed as a yeoman, John was, and as his job. I do have this. And I was reading accounts and everything. This is Radnor. Okay, here's Philadelphia. This is the area where John's farm was. He called his farm Ashwood. And it was near Radnor. They say near the Villanova train station is the landmark that they give for it. But anyway, it's in this area of Bucks County. And then here is zoomed in a little more. So yeah, this town of Radnor is where this is. Let's see, that'll go away. Yeah, Radnor Hotel, all that. So it's in this area somewhere that they live. It gave a road address, but I couldn't find it. Old Lancaster Pike. It talked about Old Lancaster Pike and Spring Road or something. And I've not been able to track that down yet. This is the most concrete kind of evidence I've been able to find. Let's see. Here's a land sale, 1796. There we go. John Bewley to Peter Gaskell. Microfilm in the National Archives. Philadelphia Deed Book. So there's quite a bit of documentation about John and Anne. Here's a marriage record. This has obviously been typed up after the fact. John and Kimble, March 29th, 1739. So this coming March, we can all celebrate their anniversary. I think that's everything I'd like to share about these two at this point. A lot of fun looking this stuff up. I did find this, so let's look at this really quickly. This is after John had passed away. So this is a church record, John Bewley. It doesn't have a year on it on this particular document. But anyway, been able to find a lot of stuff documenting John and Anne. So hope you enjoyed learning about Grandpa and Grandma Nancy, Grandpa Christopher and Grandma Nancy, and Grandpa John and Grandma Anne.